was thinking earlier tonight, before this reading, and seeing a lot of the people that are here tonight, were around in the old Stone Soup days, and I can remember showing up in Boston in around February '78, and just going to Stone Soup because I knew it was there, and Jack just. This whole thing and what Jack has done and what Stone Soup represents is really important, I think. It's given a lot of people a lot of things. It's given me a hell of a lot. What I want to read tonight is a selection of poems from a manuscript called An Armful of Ash. And it's kind of a resolve for me, just by virtue of the fact that I completed it. And then I'm going to move on from that into something new that I haven't read, something different for me. The book is in 5 sections. To Say We Are Dying Is Not Enough, Away and Home, The Required Dance, and An Armful of Ash, and Traveling with the Spirit. And I'll read something from each section. My poems move from, in this manuscript anyway, they move through a personal history, some childhood memory things, and then move on to, I traveled around a bit, so some of the poems are located in different geographic regions, and then ultimately into relationships. This poem is called The Inheritance. I was 8 when my uncle died. A year later, my parents and I buried the family dog in our backyard by a patch of lilies of the valley. I was always conscious of stepping over those bones, but it was not for 10 years, the day I found my father fallen on the floor, too weak to climb into his bed, that I was finally afraid. I watched him at the hospital, his frail body curled like a fetus, and realized he was going back. And I wanted to take hold of those drunken hands and lead him there myself. When his breath left him, my mother's eyes shut. The geography of her life became a small, hard planet spinning inside her. Galaxies collapsed. Worlds were thrown from their arcs. Her hands went limp. Stars exploded. Constellations were rearranged. And I understood I was now the man she loved. Light beer over there. All right, this poem is really, just by way of introduction, it's a personal history poem. A couple of things people should know that appear in this poem. My dad was a bachelor until he was 43, so a lot of traveling around the country. My parents were older. I have a grandfather who supposedly was a conductor on the railroad in upstate New York when Frank James, after the James gang broke up and Frank went straight. My grandfather's a conductor and Frank's a traveling Bible salesman. My great uncle moved from county to county during the Civil War to avoid the draft. That's in here. And some other things. Traveling. My great uncle rode the churning brown waters of the Barge Canal until he moved across country to escape the Union Army draft. Grandfather was a conductor on the Baltimore and Ohio and knew the notorious outlaw Frank James after he stopped robbing trains and journeyed east to Bible salesmen with stories of closed doors and no takers. Frank never spoke about the blown apart house or the brother shot from behind. But during the quiet hours of morning in western New York State, he would look again at the photograph of a one-armed woman staring grimly through the memory of her dead sons. "Let's get the hell out of Pennsylvania," my uncle told my father. Just before Father was going to spend the last of their savings on a diamond engagement ring for a red-haired waitress from Philadelphia he had loved a week. I remember his fascination with Rita Hayworth and my first awareness of puberty when I watched her as Salome danced out of her veils and carried the bloodied head of a saint on a silver tray to an evil king. I walked from the theater astonished by a new desire and plan to leave that small town someday. 5 years later, I enlisted in the Navy and went by railroad to Illinois. The porter and I stayed up talking. That conversation is lost to me now. Instead, I recall grotesquely lit Detroit in evening and young sons who thought of their lives without mothers. Landscape sped past, slowed down, then disappeared beyond the train's darkening windows. First images of manhood were reflected in my boy's face, and a future of questions roared in my ears. Ahead was a distance no map could chart. I gave myself to it and slept. It is over 2 decades and thousands of miles from that moment. Tonight, I return to those dead sons and absent mothers. Wherever it is we have been makes us different by choice or chance. A child at the creek bank, I saw shadows of birds over still current and played a secret game. Imagine what will happen next. Long poems are killer. Shorten it up a little. This is a poem called The Visit, returning to the rural New York State town where I grew up after an absence of about 20 years. The Visit. 18 years since I left, and in the town, they still call me by my dead father's name. Here, you're known as one familiar thing until you die or move away. This autumn afternoon, I walk across rusted tracks beside the deserted plant my father cleaned the machines of for 30 years. The line rerouted, the factory moved south, and with it, the town's commerce. I wonder what it is that doesn't change, and think how we often return to the wrong old ways. These streets are named for exactly what or where they are. Maple, Lake, North, Elm. Mine was clay, the neutrality of a simple life. Children then were bored and willing to do anything to get out. Strange how I'm the one who's gone and now come back. I hear my father's voice and turn toward the creek lined with willows we fished from all my childhood. The creek is polluted, overwhelmed by whatever the town can't live with. And looking into those murky waters, I know we must be what we have been and more.